Hello everyone, welcome to the another session of GRC. This session we will discuss about SAP GRC components. The first components we are going to discuss is access control. As we see in the last session that access control have 4 different components, that is access risk analysis ERA, which is for risk analysis, access request management ERM, which is used for provisioning, business role management BRM, which is for role development and management, and emergency access management, that is EAM, for emergency access. All these 4 components together is called access control. I would like to point out what we have seen in the market, that everybody use SAP GRC or everybody implement SAP GRC for SOD access risk analysis. That does not mean that everybody uses all these 4 modules. What we seen is lesser number of customers using emergency access management comparing to access risk analysis. Then it comes down to access request management, which is again a more lesser than emergency access management. Then business role management is very less customers use it. What I recommend is please do use access request management, because this is a very interesting and easy management tool which is already available when you are implementing SAP GRC. It's matter of configuration how you are going to use this access request management, because this is going to reduce lot of time and efforts which you will spend on provisioning the users, and it will reduce a lot of cost on manual provisioning of users. I would like to give you a comparison about this name in these 4 different components, because this name is being changed couple of times, which can create a little bit of confusion here. This access request analysis ARA previously was called risk analysis and remediation RAR in GRC access control 5.3, and Versa system it was called compliance calibrator. Then we have emergency access management EAM, that was previously called super user privileged management SUPM or SUP, this was previously called in Versa system firefighter. Access request management ARM, this was previously called compliance user provisioning CUP, then it was called access enforcer in Versa system. Business role management BRM, which was previously called as enterprise role management ERM, and it was Versa system it was called role architect. Let's move to the next slide. Access risk analysis. Using access risk analysis, you can generate reports based on users, user groups, roles, profiles. That means the SOD report for all these 4 components, and also have reports like critical actions, critical permission, critical roles, critical profiles, and you can also do simulation based on roles and user level simulation. This simulation in particular is a very unique in SAP GRC, because it's very useful in terms of remediation process, because you can simulate the change by adding some action, by removing some action, so you already know what is going to be the effect using the simulation. It's a very useful feature in access risk analysis. Then we will come to access request management. Access request management is a fully automated approval and provisioning process, and this business risk is identified and it's managed very very well inside the access request management. And means it reduces manual work, and this paper-based approval process, like you need to send it to somebody else and then somebody will sign it and you need to store this are all eliminated. This is fully automated approval process, and user provisioning is going to be very fast. As soon as this request is approved, the user will be provisioned in the backend system within fraction of seconds. Let's say if it is an automated provisioning, it will be fraction of seconds, then the user will be notified by email that this user is provisioned, and it's very fast. Prevent and mitigate SOD during provisioning process. That means when you are doing the provisioning, the time of provisioning itself, that we know there is going to be an SOD conflict in this provisioning request, so that we can take some action on this, that whether we need to allow this SOD conflict or we should change this role and not allow this SOD conflicts. Or let's say if you need to allow this SOD conflict, you can mitigate this SOD conflicts. Then the whole access request management is based on MSMP workflow. That MSMP means multi-source and multi-point. This we will come to that MSMP workflow later, because MSMP workflow is the core of this access control. Most of the component works based on MSMP workflow. It's very interesting that we will see this MSMP workflow later. This is introduced in access control 10. It's very easy to configure all the complex workflows using this MSMP. These are all the steps during the access request management. You will create a request. Initially, the request can be different types. It can be a new request, or it can be based on some template. You can have your own template and create a request based on the template. That means you have some standard values which you need to repeat in all the requests. Then you can create a template, and you can have a model user. That means you have a user that you wanted to copy all the roles and other settings from different users. Then you can use a model user. You can also copy a request, that you know there is a request which already exists, that you want the same, everything same like that. Then you can copy a request. It's very good features, all these different types of requests. Then we will come to risk analysis and prevent SOD violation. That means when you create a request or assign some roles, the time of request itself, that you can simulate or you can run the risk analysis and see what is going to be the SOD conflict. That means that do we have an SOD conflict or not, or if we have an SOD conflict, how do we assign a mitigation control for this. The time of provisioning itself, that we can have some mitigation control assigned to this user. Then this is going to the approval process. Then MSMP will trigger some workflow, notify these approvers. Then the approvers is notified, they approve the request. Then the last is that it will be provisioned automatically in the system, and there will be an email also triggered to the user that your user been created, and this is the password, or you can get the password from somebody whatsoever. And you can also trigger this email on each stage to this user, that your request is in this particular stage, or it's been approved or waiting for approval. It's like next we come to emergency access management. This emergency access management, as you know, this is a higher level of authorizations, especially in the supportive environment. If you see, this has always been a big challenge for an IT environment or any support environment. How much of authorization we will provide to a support consultant, whether he is supposed to have this authorization or not, or whether we are supposed to change the customer data or not. These are all a big question on a management perspective. This emergency access management gives a very clear guideline or a framework how this can be handled. So in emergency access management, we have firefighter IDs, which is pre-assigned roles and authorization. That means you it is not it does not need to be SAP all. You can have so many different of emergent firefighter IDs where have a different set of authorization, then it can be assigned to the users, and this can be tracked and monitored, and it generates its own log. So it's you can go back and track what is done using this privileged authorizations. This helps to do some activities outside their uh, roles, which is generally provided. It is fully controlled, and it's an auditable environment. Since you have the log, you can go back and check what was changed. And provisioning firefighter ID through access request management. That means if the firefighter ID itself can be created using access request management. So you also have you can backtrack who created this firefighter ID, what was the reason behind that, and what approval process. And so you have, it means fully control auditable environment. This will reduce audit time because at any point of time you have all the logs, you can track it very easily. That means at any point of time you can go back and audit this audit logs since it is available online. And fast emergency supports, it's not like a manual process or any other process. You just request an emergency ID, then if you have configured workflow, then it will trigger an approval steps, and somebody approved, then emergency is available, then you can immediately start working on the support issues and fix the issues as fast as possible. Business role management. Business role management is used to define and maintain roles in single location. That means you can develop or you can maintain the roles inside the GRC itself for your backend system. So automated role definition management roles, that means you can automate entire the role definition. A lot of functionalities, like you can create role based on function. Let's say you have a business function, you want to create a role for that. You can automate the role definition or the role development using BRM, so that from the development cycle itself, that what is being changed, how this approval process works, and it and you can also document these role definitions or the role changes. And the role is going to be consistent across the landscape, because once you created the role for one particular business process, that you can simply use it in the different landscape which is connected to your SAP GRC system. This also integrated with access request management. Basically, access request management and business role management share the common master data in terms of roles. So you don't need to maintain for the roles for access request management separately and your business role management separately. It's the same shared master data. Risk terminator. Risk terminators is an optional functionality. It's not highly used. However, it's very good functionality if, let's say, you wanted to have a zero tolerance towards SOD, for example, then this risk terminator is a very useful feature. This risk terminator actually stays in the backend system, and that means you configure it in the connected system, preventing a risk on role changes. What it does is that when you do any role changes in the backend system, this will prevent SOD conflict in that particular role. For example, if you do the role management using business role management, that you can identify the risk during the development process of the role itself. But let's assume then you are going to do the role development in the backend system, or you did some changes in the backend system, and then you have no control whether these changes going to have any SOD conflicts or not. So if you wanted to prevent that, then you can use a risk terminator, which anyway stays in the backend system, which will check your risk during the role development, role changes in the backend system directly. With this, we are coming to the end of this session. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye.